My brother Kevin told me about the Sin Reapers, I believe, in the later part of the 2000s. I'm not going to go really any further into the origins of the Sin Reapers. They are my brother's character, and I feel that is his story to tell in terms of like their origins and all that. My first contribution to the Sin Reapers was creating a concept art for the characters. Well, first there was Scrim. There wasn't Pandora in the beginning, and at first it was just Scrim. It was just basically one Sin Reaper, and Pandora came. Not too sure how much later on, but first it was Scrim, then came Pandora, and it came up with concept designs for both of the characters. My brother came up with the ideals, and I, drew them out. And then, not long after that, or it could have been around the same time, he had came up with he had wrote scripts, a number of episodes for the Sin Reapers, or at least what first started out as Scrim. And from that point, went on to being the Sin Reapers. And at this point, he had several episodes already written. This was in the 2010s at this point. And then somewhere around the middle of the 2010s, my brother wanted to go ahead and actually begin filming these episodes. And so my capacity in this particular venture with the Sin Reapers was as director, and I did a little bit of some minor tweaks of writing here and there, but overall, like, my position on Meet the Reapers was the director and the producer as well. We started getting the ball really rolling on the first episode of Sin Reapers around like December, late 2014, going into early 2015, and went ahead and assembled the cast and crew, and that was definitely quite a task. Uh, this was the first time we had like, I guess, multiple people working. Like before the projects we had, and not to say this was a particularly big cast and crew, it was small, but by the standards that we were used to, well, not maybe the standards, but what we had done before. But yeah, just like now we were like dealing with oh man, I think we were like 10 actors. Like, I don't remember the exact counts, but I think it was at least 10 actors maybe altogether, and a little bit of a bigger crew. And we had to have all these people basically for like 99% of it inside like one living room. And then like the more people you have, the more people, more food you have to have on set, the more like things like coordinating schedules, and all that, everything that you have to do as filmmakers, or just making any type of like live action media. It's the more you have, the more you have to do. I remember doing all these like most multitasking, as a director and as a producer, and having to just along with Kevin, like he was like in Sin Reapers, in Meet the Reapers, he starred as Scrim, and he also was the writer, and he also was the producer as well. And it's like both of us just doing all these tasks in addition to doing full-time jobs. And it was definitely was not easy, but it definitely was worthwhile for sure. We filmed the Sin Reapers in our house, in our living room, and we, principal photography started in May. It was a 2-day shoot. I can't remember the exact date right now. I think it was the very first Saturday and Sunday in May. I think it might have been May 5th, maybe. I remember the night before, like the late night before, I hardly got any sleep from the night before, and just doing some, minor rewriting on the script, and looking over the storyboards, and like I can remember it being like maybe 4 hours to like call time, and I still wasn't sleeping. I remember being quite tired, but there's things that had to be done, and I don't think I went to sleep until like maybe 2 hours before call time. Like I barely got any sleep. I think all I got was like 2 hours max. I remember having to get up real early. It might have been like 6 something, 7 o'clock. Having to go ahead and just get the live room. Like it was already together at that point, but just make sure everything was as perfect as I can get for production. So I think the call time was around about 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock. something like that. And then people started coming in, slowly. The cast and crew, members of them started coming in, and yeah, remember all the food being out, like people having breakfast and such, and just the very first scene that we did actually was the only scene that didn't take place, that we didn't film in a living room. It was in my brother's room, Kevin's room, and the very first scene we shot was the very first scene of um, of the episode. It was with us. We introduced the scrim, like the Meet the Reapers starts out with two of. Well, I guess I should maybe get into a bit of the plot. So the first episode was these home invaders. Like they go ahead and they break into this home and they eventually end up murdering a father, a mother, and their young son. And innocent reapers, they find out about this terrible transgression and they go ahead and they take them out. All grisly and gory style. And but the episode doesn't open up with the murder of the family. It opens up with like the aftermath in terms of like at this point. So I am skipping a little something. So basically, the spirits of the family, they can't rest, and so the Sin Reapers go ahead and they avenge those souls who cannot rest, who have who are some kind of really severe injustice was done to them, and the and I don't know if the person always have to be the avenged, always have to be dead, but most of the stories we did, the avenged have passed on. They can't rest. They get the Sin Reapers to go ahead and get justice for them that was denied in in the mortal world initially. The episode begins with two of the home invaders already dead, their corpses on the ground, and then the camera pans up from the ground, all up to our introduction of Scrim. And then later on, right after that, we cut to the remaining two home invaders running down the stairs in the house where they committed their crime. Like somehow, some way, the Sin Reapers, made it that the home invaders would end up back in the house where they, committed their crimes, and they get taken down, in the name of justice. And so the two remaining members are wondering how in the world they got back in the house where all the shit started, and when they got back, the two surviving home invaders are like just mystified, confused how in the world they got back into the house where they committed their crimes. And all of a sudden Pandora Crane appears to the audience for the first time and attempts to go ahead and take them out. And then horror ensues after that. The next scene we filmed after that was the most challenging scene of the whole episode, and where the bulk of the episode takes place. The scene where the home invaders, which is done in flashback form, the home invaders, go ahead and confront the family. The home invasion scene was definitely the most challenging to do because of one, just trying to get everybody into frame. Almost all of the cast, with the exception of one member, was inside the scene. So trying to get everybody in the scene, trying to get everybody's reactions, on this one single camera. And we didn't have a whole lot of time, so we didn't have the opportunity to do a whole lot of coverage. So a lot of this is played in wides, and just make sure everybody's moves are in sync, and if anybody flubs the line, you have to go ahead and start again. And not that happened. I don't really remembering having to do too many takes of the scene. Not that we would have had much time to do that, but luckily for us, like, we got everything we had to do, and in a few not too many takes, and helping me go ahead and get these scenes down, get these scenes on film, was Ariane Vasquez, who for the first time filled the role as cinematographer on my projects, on our projects. And she did an excellent job filming this scene, helping me compose the shots for this scene. Like, Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this scene without her. Also helping me with capturing these scenes on camera was the amazing cast. Everybody was great in this scene, and I was really impressed by the way how just the scene unfolded, how the scene was acted, and how the scene was shot, and how the scene was, in terms of sound, was captured. Esteban Moya did great sound work in the scene. Like everyone was awesome. Uh, Filming this moment. The second and final day of shooting started a little bit later. Sunday was dedicated to filming the remaining part of the episode where the family gets their justice, where the family appear in their spirit form, and the last two home invaders, are about to get theirs, and another scene which took a while to the scene that took the most to prepare for, not necessarily the scene that took longest to shoot, that was definitely the day before with the home invasion scene, but the scene that took the longest to prepare for was the spine ripping scene. That was also like the centerpiece like in terms of like the money shot scene of the Sin Reapers was the spine ripping scene. I remember when Kevin was like telling me about the spine ripping scene. Like I thought it was a great idea, but I wasn't sure we were gonna be able to, like, I don't know, execute it properly. Like I just thought like it was such a complex, like in my mind anyway, uh, SFX scene, like, with the limited resources we had. Like I don't know, like, we'll work, but he like assured me, nah, Matt, this is gonna work, this is gonna work. And the person who pulled off the SFX was Ruben Uloa. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. I had worked with Ruben the previous year on my zombie short film Wednesday's Children, and this time around he was back and he was doing the effects for the spine ripping scene, and he assured me as well, yeah, Matt, could go ahead, I could pull this off. And like, okay, and I believe both, my brother and Ruben, but I'm still like interested to see, like, how it was going to be pulled off. And we spent quite a while like setting up that scene, and he had a gore effects scene that came later as well with the leader of I think her name was Selma, the character um, of the home invaders. In her demise was like getting her guts pulled out, and the spine ripping was the demise of, I can't remember like the character's Tom who was played by Eric Nazario, and the character Selma, who was played by Xiomara Foreman. The time came around for us to finally film the spine ripping scene, and it was definitely worth the wait. Once I saw how the scene looked on camera, like I was really, really, really impressed with it, and I was also impressed with the gut ripping scene as well. I was also really impressed with the final confrontation between the family and the remaining, the last member of the home invaders, and their really tense confrontation. The back and forth between the both of them, I thought was quite dynamic, and just seeing the Sin Reapers do what they do best. Filming concluded on the scene, which was the epilogue, of the story, where after Scrim and Pandora dispense justice, another, I guess you could say, tortured soul, calling out to them for justice, a soul named Sierra, who in the next installments would actually assist them in helping to get vengeance for herself. The experience of making Meet the Reapers was a very enthralling experience, but also a very educating one as well, as every shoot is. And definitely one of the best times of my life. Also, again, one of the most challenging, but also again one of the best.